Well, good evening, everyone. We'd like to call our August 8th, 2022 Fayetteville City Council meeting to order. Glad you all are joining us. They have a full house tonight, and those who are joining us remotely. At this time, we'll ask that Pastor Josh Goodman from Cliffdale Christian Center, if he could come to the podium, ask that all would please rise for the invocation, following which, if we could please repeat the Pledge of Allegiance.
Good evening, sir. Good to see you. Does it matter which one I use? All right, let's all go ahead and bow our heads. Oh, dear Heavenly Father, God, we first of all begin this evening, this monumental occasion, by honoring you and thanking you for the wonderful blessings, oh God, that you have bestowed upon us, upon our city. And Father, we say, have your way in this place today. Lord, as council members step back and as new council members step forward, God, we honor each. We honor our mayor for each one's sacrifice, God, for what they do, going above and beyond, literally, Father, cultivating the prosperity and the good things that you're bringing forth in our city. Father, I speak your blessing over each one of them, over our mayor, Father, over each participant in this place today. God, may we walk in a greater abundance of your blessings. We love you, Lord. We bless you now. In Jesus' name, amen. Pledge allegiance to the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Pastor Goodman, good to see you again, sir.
Good to see you, my friend.
It's been a long time.
It has been.
Well, certainly glad, and we thank you for joining us for the prayer this evening. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and your ministry?
Yes, sir. I pastor Cliffdale Christian Center. We've been serving the Fayetteville area for over 30 years. We have obvious church services, daycare, preschool, K, 4 and 5, all the way up through 12th grade. We have a weekly feeding program where we supply food to those who are less fortunate in our community. Also, we've just recently begun taking aim at addictions, specifically opioid addictions, and what we can do as a ministry to really reach out and help those who are stricken in our community. So that's, by and large what we do.
Well, it sounds like you cover a lot of ground, so we appreciate the work that you do in our community, and thank you for joining us tonight. Council, at this time, I'd like to recognize any elected officials that are in the audience. I see a few. If they could please stand just to make sure that we are missing one. We have State Senator Kurt Deviere and County Commissioner Chair Glenn Adams. Thank you for joining us, you all. At this time, Council, as we move to our recognitions, tonight is indeed a very special night. All nights are special where we recognize citizens for their contribution, but tonight we also have a night of recognizing some of our council members who will move to the next chapter. So we will have specific dedication for them and many of their families who've joined tonight for this. Also, I'm glad to see Mr. Nash and his family tonight. So thank you all for coming, and we look forward to it as well as others. So at this time, very special announcement and recognition. If I could be joined, if I have the permission of her better half, of her other half, her lesser half, if Miss Demetria Davis can join me at the podium, if Councilman Davis will give me permission to go down and stand with her for just a moment.
So, Mr. Mayor, I'll begin with the proclamation. Whereas Demetria Washington Davis is a former track star at Terry Sanford High School and the University of South Carolina. Whereas Demetria Washington Davis is the most honored track athlete in the history of the University of South Carolina. And whereas Demetria Washington Davis is a multi-time SEC champion, 22-time All-American, 6-time NCAA champ, and whereas Demetria Washington Davis is a 2001 World University Games champion and won 2 gold medals. Demetria Washington Davis is a 2002 National Indoor Champion Athlete of the Year and the 2003 World Champion 4x400 relay. Now therefore, I, Mitch Colvin, Mayor of the City of Fayetteville, North Carolina, on behalf of the City Council, do hereby proclaim the 8th day of August in the year 2022 in honor of Demetria Davis, 50 top athletes, and in witness thereof, I hereunto set my hand in the cause of the Great Seal of the City of Fayetteville, this 5th day of August 2022, Mayor Mitch Colvin. She is also a woman of power in the Society for North Carolina. Thank you.
Okay. So first of all, thank you so much, Mayor Mitch Colvin, and thank you, council, and to my husband, of course. So y'all got me. Because I was calling everybody for everybody to come and support my husband, that this is his last council meeting for tonight, and here you guys are here honoring me, and so I just don't even know what to say. Like, I don't even think of things like this, and I don't even know what to say. Thank you so much. Thank you, and I really was. I'm so glad that all of our family members and church family members and some of my husband's fraternity brothers are here to see and support my husband as this being his last city council meeting. Thank you guys for having him. Thank you to the city of Fayetteville for having him. He's not only a great husband, but I honor you and I thank you for serving our city, and I thank you for serving our family. And thank you for serving our ministry. And I can just say this, you know, I know that it's been ups and downs in this city, but when I tell you that man right there, he loves God first. Amen. He loves our family. He loves our church family. And when I tell you guys, the conversations that we have about this city, he loves this city. He loves everyone. And I'm being transparent, he's cried over this city before because that's how passionate he is. And so thank you for having him. Thank you for having our family. And it's more to come. This is not the end of you seeing Chris Davis. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Davis, and, you know, definitely ditto everything, and we'll have more specific remarks from Chris, but we certainly can't top that. That was a wonderful tribute. And also, one of the key things, the most decorated female athlete in the University of South Carolina's history, and that's very strong. Council, at this time, as we're honoring very special people in our community, I ask that Mr. Carl Pringle, Mr. PBM himself, if he could meet me at the podium.
Flip-flop man. Yeah. He got some salts.
Yeah. So before I get started, I'm gonna challenge everybody out here in the audience to go get you some flip-flop sauce and support local shopping. So that's it. Okay, whereas Carl Pringle was born in Washington, D.C. and spent many summers in North Carolina with family, which led to a big backyard cookouts and forgotten problems. Whereas Carl Pringle and his grill have helped feed people all over Fayetteville and surrounding areas. Carl has been given the name Uncle Carl because food brings people together, and that's where the conversation begins. They meet as friends and leave as family. And whereas the flip-flop sauce man business started in June 2021 with the purpose of putting smiles on faces and reminiscing of happy childhood times of the backyard barbecue. And whereas Carl spends much of his time serving the community through outreach programs, Lunch on Us, where he feeds the homeless and poor every Sunday. Uncle Carl's Safe Place Safe Space, a mentoring camp to help underprivileged youth have a positive experience and Thanksgiving feeding. Now, therefore, I, Mitch Colvin, Mayor of the City of Fayetteville, North Carolina, on behalf of the City Council and 208,000 residents, do hereby honorably proclaim the 8th of August in the year 2022 to be in honor of Carl Pringle, the flip-flop sauce man. In witness thereof, I have hereundo set my hand the cause of the great seal of the City of Fayetteville to be affixed this 11th day of July, 2022. Mitch Colvin, City of Fayetteville Mayor.
Wow. If y'all know me, you know I cry. Okay. First off, I want to thank everybody. Thank my mom. Phew. Okay, I'm sorry. I just love doing what I do. And my thing is, and I tell everybody, if you don't see it, be it. Okay? I can't complain about what somebody else isn't doing. So I'm just gonna do what I do. When I pull that grill out, yes, I'm feeding people, but I'm also feeding myself. Because if I can feed you, we might can talk. We might can build something. We might can come together. We can build relationships that go past that grill, that cookout, past that sauce. I gotta thank the whole crew over in the corner. This gentleman right here, Kurt Demetria. Thank you for coming when nobody else was coming. All right. Butch, I know I fed everybody, but I couldn't have done half of what I do if Butch hadn't called me one day and said, hey, come get this mess off the back of my truck. The grill that I have, Butch gave me, because I wasn't in a position to buy one that big to do what I wanted to do. So thank you, Butch. You did this. To everybody that I've worked with, thank you. I may be getting this award today, but I couldn't have done this without you guys. My man Davis, my man Jay for the sauce, Harriet, my yeah baby girls in the back, Gally and Fran, but all you guys. And I want to say thank you, and hey, the first Sunday of every month, unless it's a holiday, please come on through. Lunch is on us. All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Carl, for everything you do for the community. Very humble, always, gives credit to others, but we thank you. We appreciate you, and that's just a small token of that appreciation. At this time, Mr. Nash will come to the podium if you and your family would like to meet me at the podium.
On behalf of the mayor and the city council of Fayetteville, North Carolina, our city key and coin are proudly presented to David Nash. In grateful recognition of his devoted interest and untiring commitment to our city of Fayetteville through leading decades of annexations of land into Fayetteville and care in enduring every person was counted in the U.S. Census. Thank you for dedicating over 37 years of service to the city of Fayetteville as one of the most gentle, kind, learned, and polite city employees. December 3rd, 1984 through July 31st, 2022. And I can attest, he is probably one of the nicest and kindest men you will ever meet, and we all need to take a little bit from him. Thank you.
Would like to have words? Would you all like to have words?
Thank you very much, council members. It's been such an interesting job here with the city. I didn't think I would stay this long, but one thing led to another, and we had so much area to try to bring into the city. But I do appreciate this honoring you're giving us tonight, and thank you very much for everything. It's been an amazing journey, actually. But thank you very much.
I'm sorry, one at a time, or?
We'll have them all come down.
Okay, so if Councilmember Kinston, Councilmember Wright, and Councilmember Davis could meet the mayor down at the podium. You want to do one at a time?
Yeah.
Okay, so would we like to do it by alphabetical order?
Let's go ladies first.
I like that much better. Councilmember Kinston?
You know, council, this is a real special moment, you know, to the public. You may not realize it, but we spent a lot of time together, even though we, you know, from long hours of work sessions, meetings, and consistently 3 Mondays out of the week, plus additional meetings. Spend weekends together, we fuss, we fight, but at the end of the day, we are like family. So Councilmember Kinston, I do appreciate the 2.5 years I've had the honor to serve with you. You were very diligent, you were committed to your work, you did your homework, you put in the long hours, and I do respect you on everything. And so, on behalf of the City Council, we would like to award you the highest award that the city can present. And it reads as follows: on behalf of the Fayetteville City Council, city employees, and the citizens of Fayetteville, North Carolina, our city key and coin are proudly presented to Yvonne Kinston in grateful recognition of her devoted interest and untiring commitment to the citizens of Fayetteville while serving with the Fayetteville City Council for District 9, December 2019, July 2022. Thank you.
So I did make some notes tonight, and I'm not going to say a speech because I didn't know if I could get through this. But to my family and friends, I would like to thank you for your love, your support, and your patience. In my inauguration speech, one of the things that I said was I was a middle child, and because of that, I had the art of negotiation. That is something that I did bring with me to the city of Fayetteville. And I thank you for your support. For District 9, I would like to thank you for giving me the opportunity to serve for the last 2.5 years. When I said it was time to go to work, I meant that up until the last moment.
Yep.
It was a goal to make sure that I made changes and made an impact. And we did just that together.
Yes, we did.
I would frequently sit up and wonder what was next and put those emotions into order. So I thank you for the opportunity to serve and make a difference. To our youth and our young adults, get involved now. These are skills that you will continue to develop and add to your toolbox. Whether you're on this side of politics or on the other, the decisions that you make will follow you. Be ready, educate yourself now. To the Fayetteville City employees, each day you get up and you represent the city of Fayetteville. I would like to personally thank each and every one of you for being the backbone, the arms, the legs, the eyes, and etc., and how important each and every one of you are as you represent the city. It was my pleasure to be your voice during these 2 years, and I personally want to thank you. And I challenge each and every council member to continue to show your support to each and every one. Last but not least, to my colleagues on the Fayetteville City Council, thank you. You've caused me to grow. You've challenged me. Yes, we may not agree on everything, but that's what makes it perfect, because we brought our skills together and we worked. There's no other council that can say that they did what we did during a pandemic. And I thank you for holding my arms up and holding me accountable to you. Move forward and move this city forward. Thank you, each and every one of you. Thank you.
Wow. So this will be one of those kind of nights. Councilman Davis, if you could, meet me at the podium, sir.
Team.
So, Mr. Mayor, I'm going to go ahead and start reading. On behalf of the Fayetteville City Council, the city employees, and the citizens of Fayetteville, North Carolina, our city key and coin are proudly presented to Christopher G. Davis in recognition and grateful recognition of his devoted interest and untiring commitment to citizens of Fayetteville while serving with the City of Fayetteville's City Council for District 6, December 2019 to July 2022.
Again, before Councilman Davis has his words, you know, I can echo what his first lady said. I mean, sometimes 11:30, 12 o'clock, we may leave a 3-4 hour meeting, and he calls me and says, "Mr. Mayor." I said, "Man, will you go to bed? We finished with it." But tirelessly, this guy puts in day in and day out for the citizens of this community, for the people of District 6. So it's been an honor to serve with you, my friend. Iron sharpens iron. You definitely brought your game face every meeting. You did your homework. You did your diligence. And you made me better as a person and as a leader and a member of this team. So thank you.
Yeah. When I moved to Fayetteville, I think one of the greatest blessings I had was I met Bill Crisp. And I wanted to be on council because of him and how he led and the things he said to me to challenge me as a husband, as a father. Before I decided to run for council for like 3 years, he only talked to me about my family and my ministry. He never talked to me about being in public service because he said you take your home first before you go out into the public arena. And before I got on council, I had the chance to really work on that. This is the city I chose to invest the rest of my, my future and my kids and my now grandkids into. And so that's why it means a lot to me and to each and every one of you who come to these meetings and take part in public service to continue to build Fayetteville. This is, like Bill Chris said, this is our Camelot. Like, this is where we work at and live at. And so I just continue to be thankful that we have a city that's still fighting to stay together. And thank all of you for continuing to work. My beautiful wife, my best friend, I'm married up, so it comes with benefits, and my kids. My children in my church really do support me. I didn't run until I talked to my church and my children, my family. And so this is kind of the community we have. Like my wife said, if there's a chance for me to serve again, I definitely will. But this place is worth serving. And so I thank you all, Mr. Mayor, Council. These are some of the greatest relationships I've had in my life. Some of the most amazing people who don't get a lot of credit are sitting right behind that diocese. And I just encourage everybody to continue to want to serve this community because it's worth serving. Thank you all. God bless. Appreciate it, Mr. Mayor, Council. Thank you.
Routine.
Councilmember Larry O. Wright. I still haven't asked you what that O stands. All right, you had some?
Yes, I'm coming with you, because for everybody to know, we all three came in together 8 years ago.
9.
9 years ago, we came in together, so we've done a lot. On behalf, which one's that? Okay. On behalf of the Fayetteville City Council, this one's gonna be hard. On behalf of the Fayetteville City Council, city employees, and citizens of Fayetteville, North Carolina, our key to the city and coin are proudly presented to Larry O. Wright Sr. in grateful recognition of his devoted interest and untiring commitment to our citizens of Fayetteville while serving the Fayetteville City Council, District 7, December 2013 to July 2022.
Before I give the mic to Councilmember Wright, again, sir, man, a decade goes by fast. You spend almost every week, multiple days a week with people for a decade. It's meant a lot. Got to know you as a person. I knew you prior to that, but this level of service and the relationships we build are priceless. I thank you for your service. You're dedicated. You have a true servant's heart and spirit when it comes to the people of this community, particularly those that are less fortunate. So thank you for the service that you've rendered to the citizens. Thank you for the working relationship, the friendship, and the brotherhood and the sisterhood that you've shown to City Council. So thank you.
So I guess I'll turn this way. I'm behind a pulpit a lot, so we don't, so anyway, I am grateful, grateful for the opportunity to serve. I often think about the quote of Dr. Martin Luther King when he says, we all can be great because we all can serve. And so the greatest opportunity that any of us could have is the opportunity to serve others. And this has been a great opportunity for me to serve the city of Fayetteville. Of course, we've served before we came on the council in the community doing what we could, because we just believe that being a servant leader is the way to go. If you want to be great, serve. And I challenge all of us here and those that will be listening on to give back to your community each one reach one, teach one. Hey, let's lift each other up. And to the council, I just want to thank you. It's been such a learning experience for me, being a retiree, being a grandfather of 9 and a great-grandfather of 2 and 1 on the way, and being married for 42 years. You know, I came on thinking, you know, hey, I got this. But each and every one of you taught me something, and I just want to thank you for that. And I'm more humbled, and I am more excited for my future in service than I ever have before. My wife would have been here, but she's in the hospital. She fell this morning again, and we're just trying to figure out what's going on with that. So I've been kind of like a carekeeper for her during this time, and all the time she has been a supporter, one of my greatest, if not my greatest supporter behind the scenes. And I just want everyone to know that she is my hero. And my children and my friends, my church family, supported me to no end. And so this experience has been truly a great experience. For the staff, there's just no words that I could give to the staff, one of the greatest staffs in the state of North Carolina. Let's give our staff a hand. Thank you for helping me, teaching me, showing me, and making us look good behind the scenes. And so again, you know, y'all got me almost choked up. Yvonne, you just, hey, stop that. No, anyway, that is the passion that we all share. And I think if you can hear from any one of these council people, you can hear that passion in their hearts. And so with Chris and Yvonne, we thank you. And you shall see us again, because we are truly servants. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Wright. Senator Devier had some presentation, so that's time, sir. I'll recognize you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Give me 2 seconds. I don't have the staff up here to get organized, so I had to do it myself. Need some help? No, I'm good. And thank you, Mr. Mayor and council, for giving me a couple minutes to honor the outgoing members. I'm not going to ask each one of them to come up, but I just want to talk very briefly. I thought it was, people can get a lot of things when they leave office, but one of the things that I thought was fitting for each of you as you left office for the service to our state is the flag of our state. It flew over, not the Capitol, it flew over the legislative building. And there's a reason for that. Y'all are policymakers. You're policymakers, and the laws of this state are made in the legislative building. So all of these flags flew over the legislative building, and so I wanted to bring and present them to you tonight, but speak to each one of you very briefly. Yvonne, you, Councilwoman Kinston, excuse me, I'm going to be informal. You truly brought the heart of the people to what you do every day. The times that I've got the opportunity to work with you in my role as your senator, you always made sure that people were put first, and you focused on what was important to them and doing what you committed to do when you were elected. So thank you for your service, and I hope this flag, you put it somewhere where you remember the commitment that you made to the state. Mr. Davis, Chris, Councilman Davis, known you for a long time. There's no doubt service is in your DNA, is who you are. From the days you wore the uniform to the days you were out building your church and your family to the day you served this community. I know you're like me. You're that tradition military guy. I know the importance of what that flag means and that guidon means to each of us, and so I thought it was fitting to present you this tonight. Remember your service. I do not believe that it's over to this state, and I look forward to working with you in the future in any way that I can. My friend and brother, Councilman Wright, Larry, I didn't come on council with you guys, but we've been through a lot, my friend. You stood with me on so many things I can't count. Again, I thought it was fitting that present you the flag from the state for the work that you do across the state and for the people of the state and right here locally. Our friendship goes beyond elected official. I've been to your house and your church. We broke bread so many times. Again, the commitment that you make to the people of this community and the ability to look at the least of these and understand that everything that you do impacts them. It's just who you are. It's who you've always been, and I've always seen your heart, and you know I'd get in the foxhole any day of the week with you. So congratulations to each one of you as you exit service. Not everyone can do this, remember. And I understand because I'm getting ready to leave service as well. Not everyone can do this. It takes a special person to offer yourself up. So thank you for doing it. On behalf of the 19th Senatorial District, I just want to thank you, and on behalf of the citizens of the state, I want to thank you. I'm going to leave these up here. Actually, I'm going to walk them up real quick if you don't mind, Mr. Mayor. Thank you so much, and I've got some certificates as well. Thank you, allow me time.
Good job, sir.
Thank you, Senator. And thank you again, council members, for your service to this community. Council, as we move forward, we have a pretty robust agenda tonight. At this time, we'll move to the city manager's reports. Mr. Hewitt? Nothing. At this time, council, as we look to, for the approval of the agenda, I know there was some specific instructions given to item 7.018, reference to the certification of the Board of Elections for the last municipal elections. And per the city attorney, as you know, we have not received the certifications necessary for that. So if you can, when you approve the agenda, if you can ask to approve with the exception of that item. Also, too, council, you could, if it is your pleasure, item 11.01 was under administrative reports. There was some discussion, so maybe you can approve that and suggest that be moved to the work session if that's your pleasure. So,
Move on that, Mayor.
All
Mr.
right.
Mayor,
yes.
so it would be to remove that item versus approve except for that item.
Okay, yeah, all right. Tomato, I got you. All right, so council, per the attorney's instructions. So council, I'm not sure about the iPads. We'll try to move through that to, for voting. If, this time, if we could have a motion. Yeah, so,
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I make a motion that we pull 7.018 from the agenda.
so it's a motion to approve with the removal of 7.018 by Mayor Pro Tem Jensen?
And is that where I add the 11 point? No.
No.
Okay.
All right. There is, now this is just the approval of the agenda. We hadn't got to consent yet. So is there a second for the motion to approve with the exception of 7.018?
Yes.
All right, seconded by Councilmember Kinston. Discussion on the motion to approve with those exceptions. All right, council, we'll do a show of hands. Those in favor, show of hands of approval as stated. All right, Madam Clerk, it's unanimous. All right,
Another item, Mayor.
yes. Item 7.0 is the consent. Go to Councilmember Hare and Banks McLaughlin.
Well, Mayor, I'm going to let Councilwoman Banks McLaughlin go first. I was going to pull 11.01 from the administrative report.
Okay, yeah, I haven't gotten
That was
there
the
yet.
item I was.
Yeah. All right, Councilmember Banks McLaughlin, you had something under consent?
Yes, pulling 7.021, camping on public and private property ordinance, chapter 17.
Mr. Mayor, I
Right.
have an item as well.
Okay,
I'd like to pull item 7.019 for vote.
Okay. All right. And Councilmember Kinston, did you have something you wanted for us? You good? Okay. All right. So, Council, if I have this correct, we have approved of the consent with the exception of item 7.021 and 7.019, which will be considered for separate votes. All right. So, there's a motion by Councilmember Banks McLaughlin, seconded by Councilmember Dawkins. Any discussion on the motion? Council, I look to you for your vote for the consent with those exceptions. Madam Clerk? Huh? Okay. Well, all right. Well, all right, Madam Clerk, that is unanimous. All right, item 7.019, Councilmember Ingram.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to make a motion that we direct the city attorney to request a formal explanation of notice, a registered notice of petition from the State Board of Elections and Cumberland County Board of Elections, and approve the resolution on contingent if, in fact, a notice of a registered notice it was needed or not needed. We will at later rescind the resolution contingent upon what the Board of Elections provides as a formal notice.
Question.
All right. All right. So, coming to questions and discussion. So, there's a motion by Councilmember Ingram to approve as stated, seconded by Councilmember Dawkins on the discussion now.
Mr.
Just for
Mayor.
the,
That wasn't as stated, or will you?
as you stated.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. All right. Discussion on the motion as I go to council members for that, just to kind of bring the general public up to speed. There was some discussion last night reference to the petition that is before the city council tonight to be placed on the November ballot for referendum regarding the council structure change. Notice of circulation of the petition registration, which was something that statute 163-218 said is a requirement for petitions or referendums. I'll read it as follows. Say, notice of circulation of a petition call for any election or referendum shall be registered with the County Board of Elections with which petition is to be filed. The date of the registration of the notice shall be the date of issuance and commencement of the circulation. And then it says no petition shall be given without such notice. So there was a question by the city attorney who reached out to the Board of Elections for clarification about that or to obtain a copy of that. That was late this evening and she was unable to obtain it. So there was some discussion as the council if they wanted to move forward or wait for that information before moving forward. But the motion on the floor is to move forward and ask for it, if I understand it correct. So that's the motion before us today. Discussion I had, Councilmember Hare as well as Mayor Pro Tem? Okay. Oh, Councilmember Kinston.
Yes, Mayor. What my concern was the discussion that we had upstairs. I think that it's better, so it won't be any additional confusion, if we just pull this item and wait for the requested information or discussion to come back from the city attorney's office, and then we could move forward either by, August the 22nd, or we could call, a special meeting and still be within the time frame that's requested by the Board of Elections.
Okay. Thank you. Councilmember Kinston.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. So I was initially prepared to make a vote tonight, but based on the information that we received, there is a question. At this time, I cannot support that motion because I wanted to make sure that everything was clear and not having the time to be able to get that information, and it would come back to us on the 22nd. So I can't be in favor of this particular motion at this time, Mayor.
Thank you, ma'am. Any other comments, questions, or discussion? Councilmember Ingram.
Thank you. Madam Attorney, I'm going to walk through the conversation that we had earlier, and you can just say correct or no as I go through it. From my understanding, you spoke with the Cumberland County's attorney, and Board of Elections today within the last 24 hours. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And the question came up of if the general statute, something 281 was needed, and the Cumberland County Attorney informally stated that it was his recommendation that the registered notice of petition was not needed. Was that what you were told? It was his recommendation informally.
It was his opinion that the statute was not applicable.
For this petition. Okay, and so is there anything that would prohibit us from rescinding the resolution in the event that it is needed?
I'm sorry, say that one more time.
Is in the event that the petition is needed, or the registered notice is needed, and we move this forward, there's nothing against us rescinding it, just to ensure that we have it on record that is moving forward in case we miss the deadline. And so, and I say that because just looking at the law of democracy, citizens have done their due diligence to ensure that they got whatever petition signatures they needed. Now, it's not our responsibility for them to tell them they needed a registered notice of petition. The Board of Elections should have done that. But what I am saying is, if it is within our wheelhouse to move this forward, and there's nothing that's saying we cannot rescind the resolution, if it comes back formally that there is a registered notice, can we rescind it?
Yes, you could, if it is approved tonight and it determined that it is indeed invalid, then yes, the council could rescind it.
Thank you.
All right, so thank you, Councilmember Ingram. So, Madam Attorney, just for clarification, just for those of us who need to understand this a little better, the Board of Elections sent this to the City Council because that is a necessary step in order for the council to request it to go on the ballot. Is that correct?
Right, under
So
the
they don't-
statute, if you receive a valid petition, then the council must adopt a resolution to put the item on the ballot.
So then it is a portion of that they didn't have the authority to do without coming to council. So the council has to make sure that the item is placed before the voters if it is a valid petition, as you stated, correct? And the date to do that is when, the final date
As I recall, the
for the
date
November?
to put it on the November election, the last date would be at your August 22nd meeting.
But special meetings can be called at any time
Absolutely.
with a, 48-hour notice?
That's correct.
So time is really not an issue. So when you spoke to the county board's attorney, Mr. Moorfield, did he give you anything in writing to verify what he's saying? Did he provide either that registration or his
No, sir.
opinion?
No, sir.
Okay. All right. So, Council, that's where we are with it. There's a motion on the floor by Councilmember Ingram, seconded by Councilmember Dawkins, to move forward as she stated. We've had discussion. Those in favor of the motion, we'll do a show of hands. I'm not sure if this is, has got the iPads up, Jen? All right. Those in favor, or council, look for your votes at this time. Are y'all off? All right. So those in favor of the motion to approve as stated, show of hands. All right. Let me hit Councilmember Davis, Ingram, Dawkins, and Mayor Pro Tem Jensen. Those opposed? Councilmembers Jones, Wright, Colvin, Hare, McLaughlin, and Kinston. Motion fails. All right. So council, if we could, can we give the city attorney some formal consensus or instructions to come back with this information as soon as possible? Something either in writing or... Councilmember Hare?
Yes, sir, Mayor. I make a motion on the statement earlier stated by me that we give this opportunity, I make a motion that we give this opportunity to our city attorney to get that dean information that we're spoken on requested to come back to the council, and we will move forward from there, either with a, after receiving that information, either with a special meeting or on August the 22nd.
All right, there's a motion by Councilmember Hare to instruct the attorney to get some clarification on this and provide that to council as soon as possible, with the understanding that it will be done on or before August 22nd deadline, seconded by Councilmember Wright. Any discussion on that? All right, council, I look to you for your votes for that action. All right. Those in favor, Councilman Davis, Dawkins, Wright, Colvin, Jensen, Hare, Banks McLaughlin, and Kinston. Those opposed? Councilmember Jones and Ingram. All right, motion carries. All right, item 7.021, Councilmember Banks McLaughlin.
Thank you, Mayor. I make a motion to not adopt 7.021 camping on public and private property ordinance, Chapter 17.
All right, this is a motion to deny or not approve 7.021.
Correct.
The camping ordinance. All right, is there a second? Second, there's a motion by Councilmember Banks McLaughlin, seconded by Councilmember Kinston. Any discussion on that motion not to adopt? All right, those in favor of that motion to deny adoption, show of hands. Yo, discussion? Yes, ma'am.
Mayor, the reason why that I would like to have the discussion on this one is because I still have a concern as far as the coverage of individuals that are exposed to the weather and sleeping out, that I think that there's still some work to be done on this particular item, so therefore I'm not supporting it.
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
Thank
Any other discussion, Councilmember Ingram?
Thank you. Were we able to understand the flexibility of Salvation Army per our last discussion on this item, for allowing space for their parking lot and green spaces?
I'm not sure if staff has gotten that information back. I can say, though, that the option that the council pulled did not prohibit sleeping in parked cars. But that was, had council moved to the next step, but we definitely will follow up on that request as well.
Okay, and do you know how soon we would be able to?
Definitely before your next meeting.
Okay, thank you.
All right, and before I go to, thank you, Councilmember Ingram. Before I go to Councilmember Wright, I do recall, Mr. Manager, I know we had this last Monday at the work session. These ordinances were only applicable if there were no available bed space. Is that correct?
That is one, but the other is unless, of course, the campsite poses a danger to the person who is there or the public.
Right.
There, and then we would have to relocate them from there because, again, it would be a dangerous situation.
And these are regarding those campsites that we see near the highway? Right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, all right. All right, Councilmember Wright, you had a question?
Yes, for clarity again, those campsites that you says that are near highways. In my reading, I understand that this is city property or private property, or does DOT still have an authority to say that we can't do that?
That's correct. So one of the things that the policy does allow, if you adopt the ordinance, it would, in partnership with NCDOT, it appears that they are willing to allow us to use this ordinance, one of the first in the state, to help regulate those dangerous campsites on NCDOT property. Absent that, we don't have the authority to assist with that.
All right, Councilmember Banks McLaughlin.
Thank you, and I do want to state this, as I do understand, tents are eyesores. Homeless people in our community, in certain areas, it is an eyesore, but I think right now, we need to consider these individuals don't have anywhere to go. We have a shortage of shelters in the city. So just like I mentioned before at our last work session, that right now I feel that it is premature to vote on something like this. I think that we should consider or wait till the county come back to tell us or no, not to tell us, but to build a homeless shelter. Once these individuals have somewhere to go, they need to be able to have a choice. If they don't, how can we basically run them off the streets and without nowhere to go? Once these ordinances go through, or if it goes through, where would these people go? Do we have an answer for that?
Well, again, the notice said it's only applicable if there's not beds. And when we received the briefing during the work session, it was not an issue of space. Many times some of the shelters don't have the beds. Sometimes they have rules that prevent drinking or other things. And so my comments before, certainly I know that I understand, the passion that's on this council for those in our community in this situation. And I don't think that this should be seen as an adverse action against anyone in particular, but we are actually encouraging the circumventing of the system that we are talking about we want to invest more in. When you have empty beds, but people don't want to do the things that the shelters say, and so therefore we're given an option to sleep beside a dangerous highway, which I think was, and so it's only applicable, that piece was added just to make sure that we were not behaving in an insensitive way, that it only applies if there are no available beds. I mean, if there are available beds. So in the event of what you're saying about capacity, it wouldn't apply.
Okay, so right now, it doesn't comply then?
It doesn't apply if there are available beds.
Because there's currently it's currently a shortage of shelters and beds. So right now, it doesn't apply if that's the case.
Okay, well, that was inconsistent with what the Salvation Army said, but okay. All right, any other discussion on that, Council? All right, and Councilmember Kinston, just to restate your motion, the motion is to deny the approval of 7.021. So if you're voting in favor of the motion is to deny.
Mr. Mayor, for the record, I think that was Councilmember Banks'.
Banks McLaughlin, I'm sorry, yeah. Councilmember Banks McLaughlin, seconded by Councilmember Kinston. So this motion will be to deny. So those in favor of the motion to deny the camping ordinance 7.021, those in favor of that, please show your hands. All right. Those opposed to the denial? All right. Madam Clerk, that is 8-2. Those voting against, Councilmember Kinston and Banks McLaughlin. Motion carries. Item 8.01 is the acceptance. Oh. Okay. Okay. Yes. All right. There's a motion on the floor to approve the consent item 7.021. Is there a second? Seconded by Councilmember Davis. Discussion on the motion? All right.
Question, Mayor. I want to make sure that it's clear, even clear to myself, that one of the discussions from our state was that we have something on the books so that could help them to move forward in some of the most dangerous locations that we have where people are staying, especially right on the corner of major intersections and ramp areas where there a tendency to be high volume wrecks and cars running over the embankment into those areas, and we have them quite frequent in Fayetteville. So this was also an opportunity for us to work closely in a partnership with the state in helping us move forward. We all know, and Mayor, you have said it so eloquently, we all have a passion for our homeless and how we can better serve them, but also at the same time, we want to help protect those that are in these dangerous areas that presently, if we don't move forward, that we have no options of support of any kind in protecting them in those dangerous locations.
Yes, Councilmember Harris, the NCDOT is, I think during our work session when we were presented this, we were one of the few cities that didn't have an ordinance that had any language that addressed this. I think ours only prevented camping in cemeteries and in one other place. So it was unique. So yeah, per NCDOT, in order to be able for us to help with some of those high-risk areas, then this was necessary. All right, so Councilmember Wright.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. In situations like this, I've always been a champion for homeless and poverty. But as elected officials, sometimes we have to make hard choices. And sometimes those choices and votes that we make don't necessarily always agree with our personal convictions to a large extent. But when I look at this policy, I think this policy will be a good policy to push the homeless agenda forward, allowing the county to understand that the state has also gotten on board with us when it comes to these encampments, which deals with health problems, safety problems. There's been rapes, there's been murders, there's been all kind of things going on in these encampments. And so when we look at making these kind of choices, to some it may seem we're insensitive to homeless, but that's not the case. We're trying to make a decision based upon what we see as the big picture. And so that's why I think this will push that homeless agenda forward to make the county, the state, and the city move in I think, a harmonious direction together to impact our homeless population.
Thank you, Councilman Wright. Councilmember Ingram and then Banks McLaughlin. Oh, I'm sorry, Kinston. And then Ingram and Banks McLaughlin.
Thank you, Mayor. During the discussion, one of the questions that I asked, and I went back and looked at it for Section B, where it says the available overnight shelter. One of the questions that I asked was about a father with children, a mother with children, when it talks about the availability for them to be able to come in together. And so, again, that is one of the reasons why I cannot support the order the way it is, because if there's a situation where there is a dangerous area or an area that a father with children cannot get into a shelter, or a mother with a children could not get into a shelter, then it would be best for them to be together versus them being separated. And so this particular ordinance did not make space for those conditions, as we discussed.
Okay, all right. Councilmember Ingram.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So I'm going to try to be very brief about this. As elected officials, I recognize early on into this role that we have elected officials as well. And when we all go to the ballot, we check off city council members and county commissioners and state senators and House representatives. Within our charter, we are set to handle a certain amount of things. And recognizably, as I aggressively talk with other peer cities that are trying to figure this out as well, we are from what it looks like, we are a leading municipality that are actually investing dollars into our homelessness community. In addition to that, our Cumberland County Board of Commissioners, they are mandated public health. And I see a room full of individuals who have a heart for homelessness. And I would love to see these same individuals fill the Cumberland County Board of Commissioners meetings up and express the same concern for homelessness as you do us, because we are answering the call as best as we can within our powers. Additionally, recently we partnered with Manna Dream Center, and where they assist men, and I believe also men with children. And to their success, they've already been able to get people men housed through the FTCC scholarship, where they can get workforce development training. And if you need more information about that, you can reach out to Ms. Jody Phelps or the city manager's office, or myself and whoever else on this board. But I really feel passionate about really you exercising your voice to all of your elected officials. We are exhausting all that we possibly can to help out our homeless community and also do it within a humane possible way and uphold our values and theirs as well. So please reach out to your county commissioners, your state legislators. If you need their contact information, I will give it to you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councilmember Ingram. Councilmember Banks McLaughlin?
He's not gonna speak.
Oh, okay. All right, council, we've had discussion. This motion is to approve the ordinance number 7.021. Councilman Dawkins and Davis motion. All right, those in favor of the approval, show of hands, council. All right, those opposed? All right, Madam Clerk, it's 8-2. Those voting in opposition, Councilmember Kinston and Banks McLaughlin. Item 8.01 is the acceptance of FY 2022 year-end strategic performance report. Good evening, sir. How you doing, Mayor? Gentlemen, rather.
Good morning. Good evening.
And I just would like to say congratulations again to you as your 40 under 40 recipient. Thank you so much for the work you do within the city.
Thank you, ma'am. I appreciate it. And thank you to all the council members that have reached out and congratulated me. I truly appreciate that, and I'll count that an honor. So thank you. Good evening, Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, and City Council members. I'm Chris Lowry, the City Strategic and Performance Manager. Joining me tonight is Mr. Andrew Brayboy. He is the Senior Analyst for the Strategic and Planning Department. Over the last few months, we have worked very diligently with the city departments to develop this comprehensive plan, and it is our privilege to brief you and the community on the city's FY 2022 Annual Performance Report. The Mayor, City Council, and CMO provides tremendous support for the strategic planning and performance management efforts. Because of this commitment, we are on our way to building a culture of a high-performing organization that is sustainable. The city is committed to accountability and transparency, and as such, reports progress throughout the fiscal year to include this year-end report. So the big question of the night is, what has the city of Fayetteville accomplished within the 6 goals? Council, our presentation tonight will be very brief. We should have it to you in less than 1 hour. Just
You're a
kidding.
comedian too, huh?
Especially considering there is over 70 pages of detail in the report before you. Tonight, in the essence of time, we will maneuver through the report to highlight a few areas of significant results. I will state a page number and slide as I go through, and the audience can follow along with the screens. The report will also be available on the website under Strategic and Performance under the City Manager's Office. We should have that up this week for any members that's wanting to go or residents that wants to go in and look at the report. On the screen, you will see a highlight of our city. It's a snapshot that shows some key points across the city. You'll see the calls for service for E911. We had 212,955. We had 29,729 fire department calls for service and 49,913 priority 1 calls for police. We had right at 1.8 million transit riders and right at 360,000 in-plane and deplane passengers at our airport. We love to see those numbers going up, so anybody that can go on FlyFay and ride our fast transit. They are awesome services. That's just a small plug that I can throw out for those. Looking at slide 5, Council, let's begin with slide 5. It shows a rundown of where we are as of June 30th, 2022 for the 14 TFAs. We have 51 TFA tactics that comprise all of these 14 different TFAs. We had 1 action plan, which was the developed funding plan for the infrastructure. It was completed mid-year and is now moving forward as operational. We have 6 TFA action plans for FY22 that were complete and continue as forward in TFA plan for FY23. And we had 7 TFA action plans for FY22 that were slightly behind schedule at year end, but also continuing into FY23. At this point, we'll turn it over to Mr. Andrew Brayboy. He will be going over our goal 1, which is our safe and secure communities.
Good evening, Council. So for each goal, the section reports the objectives, the TFAs, KPIs, and then some goal highlights. For goal 1, safe and secure community, I like to focus on its KPIs. Our data shows that we are well above the national average for citizen satisfaction with the overall quality of the fire protection and rescue services. When compared to the last 2 years, which were our COVID years, Our fire department calls for service KPI are up to our pre-COVID numbers of around 30,000 calls. Our lost save ratio is at 96.3%. This means that of all the calls that were made, we were able to save on average 96.3% of the caller's property value. The average response time for priority 1 calls has increased, while the total number of crimes across the city has steadily decreased over the past few years. Providing for a safe and secure community means engaging the public as well as responding to emergencies. This year, the fire department facilitated its first Summer CERT Youth Academy. This exposes our youth to multiple emergency services career fields while also learning life-saving skills. The police department continued with the implementation of the citywide camera system and license plate reader, LPR. This has resulted in 257 felony arrests, 54 recovered stolen vehicles, 14 guns seized, and 6 missing persons located. Now we'll move on to Goal 2, which is a responsive city government supporting a diverse and viable economy. As you can see here, these are the 4 objectives listed within this goal. TFA 2.1.1 is Execute Opportunity Zone Plan. As you notice here, many of the tactics are red and 1 yellow dealing with the Opportunity Zone. As restated from our third quarter performance report, the reason this tactic is lagging is because our peer studies show that most, if not all, opportunity zones are not progressing at a satisfactory rate. The city does not control the money for the opportunity zone, and the investor has to be able to make the decision to choose the zone in which they want to develop. Our development finance incentive policy and framework has been drafted and is under review in anticipation of bringing to council once it's vetted. And we also need funds for legal support to establish the land bank policies and procedures. Now for TFA 2.4.1, which is to execute redevelopment and business growth along Murchison Road and Bragg Boulevard with beautification of city gateways. All of these tactics are on schedule except for the NCVP Phase 2. For this tactic, we are just awaiting the transfer of ownership from the property for North Carolina DOT. Here are some highlights from this TFA that council has adopted. The Mazurek, also known as the Glenville Lake to Downtown Tour Master Plan. Also, we have spent over 80% of our tree fund on beautification efforts throughout the city. In addition to this, we are still on schedule with a CNI planning where a draft plan is being reviewed by the community stakeholders and partnerships are being solidified. Now, we'll review the data for Goal 2. We see here that we've had a decrease in the percentage of vacancies across our city of Fayetteville in the areas of the office, industrial, and also in the retail sectors. We also had an increase in the number of jobs created by our excellent program, which were offered by the ECD department. To add to this, we have also had an increase in the satisfaction of overall strength of Fayetteville's economy and with the overall appearance of major corridors. In Goal 2, we had a groundbreaking ceremony for the Senior Center East. We distributed over $14 million in CARES Act funding. We also announced the Amazon project, which is coming to Fayetteville and expected to bring in over 500 jobs. And we also started to move forward with the first $20 million tranche of council-established ARPA priorities. Now I'll turn it back over to Chris for goal number 3.
Council, goal number 3 is our city investment in today and tomorrow. Here you see the 5 different objectives that compromise for that goal 3. On slide 20 is our TFA 3.1.1. This tactic was actually completed in mid-year. It is presented to council on February 14th of this year, and it is complete and moving forward. Moving on to slide 23, which is our TFA 3.4.1. It was to develop and implement council policy to incentivize positive property ownership. 2 of these tactics are slightly behind, but we are still moving forward. The Neighborhood Engagement Office through ECD will be focusing on the 6 council-affirmed neighborhood revitalization strategy areas, which is Murchison Choice, Murchison Neighborhood, Central Campbellton, which is our downtown area, Bonnie Doon, Deep Creek, 71st area, and Massey Hill. with plans for a neighborhood quality of life index for each of these strategy areas. Development Services has created a sample size HOA inventory and assessed their effect on the neighborhood with these preliminary results. The number and price of homes in an HOA have no direct correlation to the amount of code enforcement that is required. An HOA that a third party manages requires less code enforcement than HOAs that are not. The lower percentage of home ownership didn't increase violations, but areas with more restrictions in the covenants required less code enforcement activity. An active community watch results in more code enforcement cases, but does not mean the neighborhood will not benefit from an HOA. These tactics are small finding. It is a small sample size, but these were findings that were found from those results. On slide 26, we move to TFA 3.5.1, which is to build a smart city capacity. 2 of these tactics are behind, but still moving forward. The gap analysis and our smart city template has been created and will be used to help track and identify future smart city initiatives per program and per department, along with the CIP and TIP projects that qualify. We have completed some major projects to move along our smart city, such as Granicus and VoteCast, which allows council to track motions, votes, and requests to speak digitally. Our Cape Fear River Trail and Clark Park maps, which is configured, completed, and developed digital maps for East Coast Greenway application for public services, and implemented pavement preservation application and database in support of public service efforts for asset management across the city. Many of the KPIs have seen growth in the past year. We've completed almost $9 million in stormwater projects while resurfacing almost 21 miles of city streets. We saw growth to about $365 million in residential and commercial permits and development services. Our trade inspections grew to over 34,000 inspections, with 100% of our inspections completed within our established deadlines. Looking at internet access, 96% of our residents state that they have access, while 100% of our city properties that house employees have Wi-Fi access. A few of our accomplishments for Goal 3 is that we are moving forward with the Downtown Urban Design Plan. Stormwater presented the first $20 million tranche of the Watershed Master Plan, with up to $2.3 million allocated by City Council with approval of the FY23 budget. MetroNet continues to build out our internet towards being the first gigabyte city, and we are planning and implementing transformational projects and infrastructure to increase the quality of life for all citizens, like the new zoning for a greatly expanded downtown, which was adopted by City Council. Next up, we have Goal 4, which Mr. Brayboy will present for us.
Goal 4 is our desirable place to live, work, and recreate. It's our quality of life goal, one of our largest ones. TFA 4.5.1 is to implement residential revitalization efforts. The Implement Choice Neighborhood Early Action activity is sitting now at 90% completion. So far, the Community Impact Team has awarded the first round of Community Safe microgrants totaling $50,000 to over 32 agencies. Our nonprofit training and capacity building monthly classes have been conducted for the first round, and within the new Neighborhood Engagement Division, the manager has been hired and is currently developing the programs along with new staff as we benchmark our peer cities. The down payment program and enhanced home buyer education is active and is being marketed also to our residents. Now for TFA 4.5.2, this is to complete a housing study and implement affordable housing strategy. The top 3 items for this tactic are the Housing Strategy 1.1, develop housing resources and engage, which is now at 100% completed. Housing Strategy 2.2, public land disposition, which is to hire an analyst to evaluate city-owned properties. This is at 75% completion. And then Housing Strategy 4.3, which is down payment assistance, which was launched in April, 100% completed. The Housing Trust Fund policies, procedures, and applications are on the website, and a workshop is planned for late July, early August. We'll move now to slide 47 for Goal 4. It's heavy in KPIs just because of the vastness of it. So I'll hit a few of the high-level metrics, and then we'll move forward. Both transit and the airport saw an increase in passengers from the previous 2 years. Fayetteville Airport had an average load factor of 82%, while our in-planed and deplaned passengers totaled right at 360,000 passengers. With transit, we had about 1.8 fixed route passengers riding our buses, and also 24.2% of our bus stops has either a shelter or a bench, which is much higher than our peer cities. Looking at our solid waste division, we saw an increase in our recycling diversion rate, which is at 37%, while also we were able to keep our successful collection rate very high at 99.97% collection. With Rapid, we have also identified and mitigated almost 500 different illegal dump sites. Now we'll transition to slide 50. These are some of the accomplishments that we've able to complete in Goal 4, so I'll go through a couple of these. Our Parks and Rec Department, in coordination with the Construction Management Department, successfully finished 6 awesome projects. These included Westover and Bailey Hill Dog Parks, Gilmore and East Melvin Honeycutt Splash Pads, Lake Rim Pool, and also the city opened the Montclair School Park. We're moving forward with the Day Resource Center, which is in pre-construction, and we had our first ever city-sponsored New Year's Eve celebration at Festival Park. With solid waste, we implemented limb and bulky collection improvements to increase efficiency and effectiveness within our solid waste ordinance amendments. We received a North Carolina DOT grant for inaugural aviation career education. This is our ACE Academy. And also an initiative was developed for a web mapping application and data management system, which will assist the pavement preservation and resurfacing of disadvantaged areas across our city. At the airport, we're moving through with phase 2 construction with a second TSA X-ray machine being installed, along with a parking revenue control project, which is now 100% completed.
Goal 5 is to be a financially sound city providing exemplary city services. TFA 5.1.1 is the only TFA that we have for this goal. All tactics are complete. However, this item will still be rolling over into the FY23 plan. Moving on to slide 56, where we look at some of the KPIs for this goal. Many of these KPIs are based on a biennial survey. The city's bond rating, however, has stayed consistent over the years, so we're still holding steady at least the last 6 years that we went back. Our overall response from employees that feel they are paid fairly for the work they do and being satisfied with their job has increased from the FY19 and FY20 results. Even though this is the only TFA for Goal 5, we still made large strides moving forward to this goal. City Council adopted the FY23 city budget. SurveyMonkey was implemented as an enterprise solution to surveying our residents, guests, and employees. We implemented physical security enhancements, including this new city weapons ordinance. We moved forward with smart city and technological advances such as the ERP solution, which is our hub project, and the migration to Office 365. Looking at the Employer of Choice initiative, which was a TFA from FY21 that was operational this year, we have hired 3 new directors, 1 in construction, 1 in communications, and the city's first diversity, equity, and inclusion director to develop a DEI strategic plan. We've implemented transit driver pay along with additional city holidays and rolled out our leadership development courses. We have also distributed employee COVID pay bonuses and improvements to the employee evaluation process.
Now to finish out with Goal 6, this is to have a collaborative citizen and business engagement. TFA 6.1.1 is to develop and implement a strategy to maximize a relationship with the military. As you can see, two of the 3 tactics here are 100% completed, with 1 tactic still lagging. The 1 tactic that is delayed is currently in the process of being transitioned with our CMO team. The last military host cities meeting was held May 11th, with the next meeting planned for August. A meeting with the North Carolina Department of Military and Veteran Affairs and the NC MAC was also held May 19th. The last 2 TFAs that are listed within Goal 6 are completed, and the city is moving forward with a disparity study expected to be presented in Q1 of FY23, sorry about that. And we'll move now to slide 68. So if we look at some of the KPIs here for Goal 6, we have saw tremendous growth in the number of Facebook followers and the number of total website visits for our city. We had a total of 13,899 Faith Fix-It tickets with about 64,000 calls answered in our One Faith call center. Also, the city manager electronic newsletter and the council meeting recap videos are 2 great accomplishments that we started in FY22 for Goal 6. We've also launched the Premier Customer Service Program focused on the development community's journey, and we're also moving forward with a customer-focused city hall and a development center. We also developed a citizen advisory board with the appointment of our first-time members. Another great accomplishment was the community collaboration with DOJ for the City Spirit Initiative for repurposing the Market House with approximately 700 residents and over 500 plus surveys completed. The city also contracted work with PROVE, Proactive Responsible Outreach, over Violence and Education project to help develop a community-based violence prevention program where a landscape analysis was conducted to inform strategies for community-based public safety initiatives. We also developed and implemented the city's strategic communications plan, and with Faith Fix-It, we made improvements to the application and to the call center operations. And finally, we implemented the city's can-do branding across the city, including the adoption of the new council seal and flag.
So moving forward, council, into the FY23, staff continues with performance stats meetings that we do on a monthly basis, and we use the departmental business plans to help make business decisions. We will bring you a quarterly update on the TFA action plan at the close of the first quarter, which will be in October. Also included in your packet in your report is the annual scorecard, which shows the results of the strategic key performance indicators under each goal objective. To end the presentation, I will leave you with 2 quotes that drive our department. You can have data without information, but you cannot have information without data. And also, things get done only if the data we gather can inform and inspire those in a position to make a difference. Tonight, council, we are asking that you accept the FY22 annual performance report, and we stand ready for any questions that you may have.
Thank you so much, Mr. Larry. I do have a question before I go to Councilmember Harris. This is probably more so for the city manager. Can you go back to the part that talks about where we are with the disparity study? Because this has been something that was a strategic planning item several years ago, if I'm not mistaken, and I know they had to, so it started in 21. I think we actually voted for it in maybe 19 at the strategic planning. So it took 2 years to start it. It was supposed to be completed in June 30, which is 2 months ago. And you're saying that they're anticipating the first quarter of 2023 as the, did I hear that right? First quarter 2022 is passing.
Yeah, so 23, it'll be starting in the first quarter, so from here between now
So
and
between
October.
January and March of next year, so how did we?
FY23, sir.
FY23.
FY23.
Between now
Yes, sir.
and September, end of September.
Okay, first quarter of FY23.
Yeah, first quarter FY23.
Okay, so specifically meaning the first 3 months will be what, July, August, September?
Yep.
Okay, so it should be here no later than September of this year, calendar year. Okay, all right. I just want to make sure I was tracking it. Okay, all right. Councilman here.
Thank you, Mayor. Gentlemen, thank you for the report, great report. Just a couple of items I need you to maybe give me some more update on or some clarification. On the beautification, city gateways, where are we on the schedule now? I know that we're getting ready. We just finished what just took place in the beautification around the Ramsey Street 295 area. And we have received funding throughout the course of the years. It's my understanding that, if I remember correctly, we received $1.5 million for beautification with the Department of Transportation. Also, that we were going to be using as some of a funding source to split between 3 gateways, to include Ramsey, Murchison Road, and Bragg Boulevard. So I'm just trying to see exactly where we are on the update, where we'll be moving to the next corridor soon. So as soon as you can get that to me, I would greatly appreciate it. You also stated within your report, and I brought this up at the last meeting, and I'm trying to see where we are with the funding source. Is that something that council needs to work on as we go further into next year? Is it the Glenville? What is it? Help me say it right. Glenville Lake.
Yes, sir.
I know I just brought that, just a couple of months ago. If you can't answer tonight, I understand that, but I would love to get a report what needs to be done with the direction we need to go with funding with that.
Yes, sir. We can definitely reach out to Parks and Rec and Construction and see where we're at on that and get your report back.
Yeah, and I'm glad to hear the support improvements that we're having with our cameras and some of the successes that we're having with that. We need all the improvement tools that we can for our toolbox, and I like what I heard so far concerning that one. Thank you, Mayor.
Yes, sir. Councilmember Ingram.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So before I get to you, City Manager, when is our next strategic planning schedule? Because we hadn't had one since probably during COVID. When is that scheduled? Typically, it's in February or into January.
We've not scheduled that yet. When the council's seated at your meeting in September, that would be a great time for the council to have that conversation.
Thank you. I will just broadly say to the council members that are currently here and oncoming, I think it would do best for us to have it this year, at the end of this year. This is a 1-year term, and we got a lot to get done, especially if this bond passes. So my question is going to focus on housing. I talk about this a lot, so I'm going to go back to 2019, early 2020, before COVID hit. My first strategic planning, we received a report that said 900 individuals go into poverty within the city of Fayetteville annually. That was before COVID. Our median income per capita is $25K. And looking at inflation and housing, that is something that I've been focused on a lot, especially with this study. So you stated, I just want to make sure I heard what you said. You said that the study was 100% completed, and we are building off of that, correct?
Well, the disparity study?
No. Housing, the affordable housing study.
Affordable housing study?
Mm-hmm. That is, we've done it. We're building off of it, and we will use a lot of this for the housing bond if it passes, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, that's
Okay.
correct.
And then in the event, so this is something that I try to track. Because of things happen so fast, when we implement a study, it is based off of data that is taken at that one point in time. And so within this study, how are we tracking current trends? So say we passed that study that said we needed this amount of housing, and then we move forward, how are we tracking our needs in real time and being able to, we're not keeping up, but being able to making sure that we are checking all the boxes of what we need?
That's something that we can actually, we'll get that back to you.
Okay.
That's a good question.
Okay, thank you. And then moving on to my next question, as we address our affordable housing and given inflation, which a lot of us are impacted by it, I know people are seeing rent rises to no end. Can we speak to strategic partners that we've been able to pull in that are direct, that we can give our affordable housing study to and say, hey, pretty much what can you do to partner with us on these affordable housing entities? And then also, are we looking at setting policy as it relates to developers and affordable housing within our affordable housing study?
Yes, ma'am. We can actually program that to come back fairly soon to council. Chris Cawley and team are not here, but we had 4 areas that we were looking at as it relates to the affordable housing strategy, and you've articulated all 3 of them. And the last one, of course, would be actually landing the deal. So you're right, it all started with having an affordable housing study. That, Mayor, how many was it? 20,000 some units of affordable housing that we were down. We worked with the city attorney's office and outside consultant to develop incentive plans, and I think that'll be coming back to you shortly to be adopted. And at that time, we'll tell you how far along we're on the continuum. Council's going to go a long way if you approve the $12 million on the affordable housing GO bond. And then if that goes to referendum and the voters approve it, that gives us even more money to jumpstart it. So yes, ma'am, we are firing on all cylinders, and we'll get you, but we will bring that information back as well.
Thank you so much, and thank you for your presentation and your pride. Thank you so much.
All right. Okay, Councilman Dawkins.
Second.
All right, there's a motion by Councilmember Dawkins to accept the report, seconded by Councilmember Wright. Discussion on the motion? All right, Council, I look to you for your votes. Those in favor of acceptance? All right, Madam Clerk, it's unanimous. Good job, gentlemen. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for that.
Council.
Good night.
All right.
I know I was a little shy of that one.
Yeah, I was saying you were close, wasn't you? All right, Council, at this time, we'll move to our public forum. This is a time that any Fayetteville resident may have input and a voice in what goes on in their city. Due to policy restrictions, the forum will not last any longer than 30 minutes, and each speaker will be limited to 3 minutes to address City Council on issues related to the city of Fayetteville. Individuals wishing to speak at tonight's public forum should have signed up with the city clerk prior to the start of tonight's meeting. If you are here to speak on the items that may be on tonight's agenda under the public hearing, I ask that you would please reserve your comments until the public hearing time comes. So when your name is called by the city clerk, I ask that you please come to the podium. Please clearly state your name and home address for the record. Then, when you're notified, you will begin to speak, and at 30 seconds left, you will hear, you'll be notified, and then at the conclusion of the time, your time will have expired. Again, due to policy restrictions, we're unable to extend the given time. With that being said, Madam Clerk, please call your first speaker.
Yes, ma'am. We have 16 speakers signed up for this evening. Our first speaker is Mrs. Kathy Greggs.
Good evening, Ms. Griggs.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening, Mayor. Good evening, City Council members. How are y'all tonight? Oh, that's good. I'm not good, though. But anyway, I just want to express a couple of things. All the awardees, congratulations to you and everyone else that received awards. I think they already left. That was awesome. Also, congratulations, Councilmember Chris Davis. My name is Kathy Greggs. I live at 4607 Woodline Drive, Fayetteville, North Carolina, 28314. I am the co-founder and president of Fayetteville Police Accountability Community Task Force. And it's awesome, even though Councilmember Chris Davis is leaving, but I used to work with him before he started here at the City Council, and that's how we started Fayetteville PAC a long time ago, actually doing public servancy. So tonight we talked about a lot of public servancy for the people that received awards, and we discussed those that sits on the City Council. And we also did some quotes here. One of the quotes was from Martin Luther King. Let's make sure that we don't make a mockery of those that have served and have done public service. And I say that because Martin Luther King said, those that know of injustice is also a part of that injustice. And I say that because I'm here with the Walker family that sits in the back. I'm also here with the Jada Johnson family that sits in the back. I'm also here with Gerard Atkinson that sat in jail for 18 months because our city police department lied and said that he assaulted them, which is a $7 million lawsuit right now for the city. So when we talk about public servancy, let's make sure we're clear on really what that means. That means that you stand on the side of those that have sought injustice so they can get justice, okay? Because at the end of the day, we all have to pay the price, and the devil will come back and get his payment. So when we're talking about public servancy, be clear to understand what that really means. And what it means is to be willing to stand on this side without your reputation, without your money, without your greed, and without your awards to give justice to those that deserve it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Gregg. Madam Clerk.
Our next speaker is Mr. Angelo Owens.
Good evening, Mr. Owens.
Oh, that was pretty good. My name is Angelo Owens, and I live at 2313 Village Drive, Fayetteville, North Carolina, 28304. And I'm the director of a nonprofit youth organization. And I have a proposal that I want to present to you today, but I'm going to read this before that. What is crime? Is it an act or activity? For we all have sinned and fallen short of God's glory. Or is there something else at its root? Could it be said that crime is really a breakdown or lack in one's life, individually or societally? First, in our community, as we find ourselves divided by national agendas, this us versus them mentality, the police against the people, fathers against sons, daughters against mothers, blacks against whites, Republicans against Democrats, and so divided we fall, America as a whole and our local communities individually. And as we lose our basic common unities, our youth yearn for harmony, peace, security, and empowerment. And where these factors are limited, gang violence and drug abuse seems to prevail. Secondly is the area of responsibility, or not having the ability to respond to an individual's or a community's need for expression and growth, for the idle mind is the devil's workshop. So then what is our identity? As we and our youth are constantly inundated and manipulated by outside forces culturally, economically, and politically, which do not hold many of our local needs, virtues, or beliefs to heart, and as we continue to invest our money, time, resources, and intellect in support of these national and global entities and their interests, we sacrifice our youth and our communities on the altar of some proposed, misperceived, and misconceived benefit or profit, all while the institutions which have served us well in the past are being underfunded, neglected, and abandoned. Our schools, our churches, our libraries, our community centers, our parks, and the such becoming misused and abused, no longer safe havens, environments of creative, physical, and spiritual expression, mentorship, or fellowship. And thus, who suffers the most because of this injustice of it all? Our youth, your children, and mine. So once again, crime, what is it? Community, responsibility, identity, money, environment, or the lack thereof? Dare I, and maybe you also, might observe and say that here lies the true underlying factors influencing the decline and destruction of our local community and its youth, which we call crime. This proposal that I present to you today hopes and will endeavor to dynamically, profoundly, and directly address these issues, lest we awake one day only to find that we have no lasting legacy to leave our children, but more abject poverty, disdain, hate, confusion, the darkness of mass destructions, viral uncertainties, social and economic disparities, national political unrest, wars and rumors of wars, educational disruptions, all coupled with and to a globalist agenda, which seems to be becoming the norm for America as a whole.
Thank you, Mr. Owens. Anything you'd like the council to review, please give to the clerk.
Yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Our next speaker is Mr. Rick Iwanski.
Good evening, sir.
Evening. My name is Richard Iwanski, and I reside at 2308 Colgate Drive here in Fayetteville, North Carolina, 23804. And I'm here to speak. Well, first of all, I'm sorry to bring everybody down from that joyous occasion earlier about those awards, but I've got some serious stuff to talk to you about right now. And I apologize for bringing you down, but this thing needs to be said. And I'd like to thank you, Mayor, for allowing me here tonight, and the board, and all of you from the council for letting me come before you to talk today about my beautiful angel, Jada Johnson, and mental health response by the Fayetteville Police Department. I'd also like to thank the Fayetteville PAC and all the other family members here this evening that are behind me. Their courage is an inspiration for me to come and speak to you today, because I did not want to. It has been just since 1st of July that she passed. And I'm still very, very hurt and very, very grieving. So I was very inspired by these folks that came here today, because I wasn't going to say anything. So my goal here is to ask you for accountability, transparency, and reform. Today, I specifically want to speak to the first goal and the insidious behavior of the officer's response on 1 July to my granddaughter's request for help at a time of mental crisis. There is an aspect of horror attached to that response that evening, where a vast majority of the police's own guidelines were violated and ignored. Just days earlier, in the same house, with the same people, the same victim, and the same mental crisis, there was a very different response with a different police responders that came to the house that actually tried and did help my granddaughter. That was Wednesday prior to that Friday. There was a different on that 1st of July, that Friday, and that was the leadership that got there. The leadership that failed to follow the own instructions, the own guidelines in the Fayetteville Police Department's own operating orders and procedures. I have them right here in front of me. Right here. Excuse me. They clearly state what to do in a crisis situation, and the sergeant that was there at that time failed my granddaughter. Whereas 3 days prior, how is it possible that they could do it? And yet that day it was different. I ask you, please look into this, find out what happened. And if those are responsible, please hold them accountable. Let's get some transparency here. Let's get on top of getting the information out. I'm still waiting on what's going on. I'm still waiting. I don't even know the guy that supposedly had my granddaughter in her position of her mental state, threatening her. We don't even know where this guy is. The police department hasn't got back with us. We don't know if he's going to...
Mr. Iwanski?
Yes, sir.
I hate to interrupt you, but your time has expired, sir. But any documents you would have us to look at, and we'll also make sure that we allow you to finish speaking.
No, that's fine. I'm sorry. I apologize. I'm very
That's okay.
emotional here.
And you have our condolences.
I
so I'm
apologize.
sorry.
Thank you for your time.
No problem.
Please look into this.
Thank you, sir.
Please.
Our
Madam-
next speaker is Mr. Hurst.
Mr. Hurst, good evening.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, City Council, and citizens of Fayetteville, North Carolina. You heard the message. Got delivered. That could have been either one of us, kid, a grandkid. We have a collection of citizens behind me who are victims. Their families are victims of overzealous law enforcement officials. Recently, you just had a settlement against, whether it be the county or the city, of overzealous law enforcement. In the McNeil case, it cost the county or the city $3 million. These cases are steady adding up. I implore what the gentleman said, for everyone to put aside their biases, their friendships with law enforcement. I don't care if you bowl together, eat together, whatever you do. Too many citizens are losing their lives for overzealous policing in this city. You don't have to go to Ohio, you don't have to go to New York. It happens right here. I heard a citizen say at the previous meeting that we need to turn the page on the slave market downtown. But how can the city turn the page where right now present day in the state you call North Carolina. You have a Senate bill, House Bill 337, that still holds in the North Carolina Constitution the black literacy test. But you're talking about refurbishing the slave market. It needs to be destroyed. Just like those other 9 bases in this country that had to be renamed, they've been renamed for a reason. We have a family back here, the Walker case. They're grieving every day because their house sits right in front of a crime scene. It's impossible to go grocery shopping. It's impossible to go to work where they pass the crime scene that's in front of their house every day. Imagine if that was any one of us. We all have kids. It's impossible to detour and go around. So please keep this in mind as you look at these families behind me along this wall that have been victims of overzealous law enforcement in this city you call Fayetteville that y'all so proud of. Thank you very much for your time and consideration.
Thank you, Mr. Hirsch. Madam Clerk.
Mrs. Carrie Williams? Miss Carrie Williams? Okay. Miss Kimberly Bennett? Kimberly Bennett? Miss Nikki Creasy?
Good evening, Ms. Creasy.
How are you? Good evening to all of you, and thank you for the opportunity to present. So my name is Nikki Giovanni Creasy, and I'm the CEO and founder of Shine Light. Shine Light has served people with autism or ASD in the Fayetteville area for the past 16 years. Our top priority is offering effective wellness environments to people with ASD. Providing these supportive wellness environments to us means that we ensure that the people that we serve can be the best versions of themselves. We believe that all people can and should live their best lives, and we at Shine Light also know what is necessary so that people with ASD are not left behind in the pursuit of these dreams. We have learned that a successful wellness environment inclusive of people with ASD incorporates equality, opportunity, inclusivity, and community. Through these core components, people with ASD too can shine and live their best lives. But without community, we cannot achieve these goals of providing these effective wellness environments. And this need for community is why I am here tonight. We realize and understand that our residential services are at the core of our overall mission. We strive to offer diverse residential options that first meet the unique needs of those we serve, and secondly, that connect them to the support and resources that it will take for them to live the best versions of their lives. So my goal tonight is to bring awareness to our residential programming and to begin to make the connections we need as an agency to offer this quality wellness environment to every person with ASD that we serve. So I want to end again by thanking you for the opportunity to present. And finally, I'd like to invite each of you to our Greater Chamber of Fayetteville sponsored ribbon cutting event for our third group home on this Thursday.
Thank you, Ms. Creasy.
Thank you.
Thank you. Madam Clerk.
Yes, sir. Our next speaker is Miss Maya Warren. Maya Warren. Miss Angela Malloy.
Good evening, Ms. Malloy.
Good evening. My name is Angela Malloy, and my business address is 131 Hay Street. First, I want to thank our outgoing council members, but especially Yvonne Kinston. You have done an exemplary job. I have enjoyed watching you, supporting you, and seeing the changes that you've made. We are thankful for the work that you've done, and I know that this is not the last time that we're going to see you here. Okay. Next, I was going to address the 5-4 referendum, but it's been tabled, and there is a more important issue. And so I want to speak on Jada Johnson. You just heard her grandfather here speaking. In my line of work as a clinical lactation consultant and a community-based doula, we are trained and we train our doulas to be able to recognize mental health in our postpartum families within our scope of practice. We also are trained that when something is out of our scope of practice, that we are to refer. What we have witnessed with our Fayetteville Police Department time and time again with their response to mental health is that they are operating out of their scope of practice at the level that is required for going to these calls. Also in my profession, whenever we are operating out of our scope of practice and it is found that there has been a death as a result of that, we lose our license and our certifications. And I believe that our Fayetteville City police officers should be held to the same account. It is very deserving to our community to have those who are responding in situations and they're not fully trained on how to respond in those situations. The trainings that they get on the level for them to be able to recognize, that is not enough for them to be able to provide the level of support that's needed, as we saw with Jada. Also, the reason why this is close to our heart, again, we support our postpartum families. Many of you do not realize that she was still in the postpartum period, and there are mental health support that is needed that is not recognized. There's already disparities, racial disparities in our community for mental health support, and this is another example as to why, one, we need to fund mental health support, especially in our postpartum moms. We are fighting hard with that daily, but also we need to make sure that we have a police accountability review board and not an advisory board. That is not going to do what we need in this community to keep our citizens safe. So I'm asking that that the new council that comes in, that they strongly consider getting a review board in place so that the community can feel safe, and our community is counting on it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Malloy. Madam Clerk?
Our next speaker is Mr. Nero B. Coleman.
Mr. Coleman, good evening, sir.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to once again say congratulations to those who are leaving, and I respect all three of you. I've worked with you, and I know the city council is going to be in a hurt because you're gone, but I look forward to the new people that are coming, because I got a feeling they're going to see Nero again, too. My name is Nero B. Coleman. I live at 352-5 Bubble Creek Court here in Fayetteville, North Carolina. And once again, I'm here to talk about the Massaryk Park Equal Access project that I was here prior to, and when we were able to get it into the city's mass trail plan. And now I find out that we are having problems with the funding and the things about getting it to completion. I'm here to find out why we have to have monies for an architectural design and then monies for construction, and when we have monies for completion. There's money in the general funds to go ahead and do this, because it's not inside the $450 million that we got for the bonding. So somehow or another, this little piece of trail has no money to make the whole trail complete. With all of the different things that this city has done, it was a conscious decision to not develop the other side of the park. In the 80 years, there's been no development on the other side of the Glenville Park. And we're talking about doing renovations or improving the can-do city. We can do this. And the city council can just go ahead and vote out of the general funds to put this money in to make this trail around the other side of the park where us's live, and make it better for all of us if we were to go ahead and fund this project. That's something that can be done at a vote now or by the 22nd or after. But this is something we need to do. This park has been an emblem of the city for 80 plus years, and the conscious decision not to do the other side of the park can be rectified by a simple vote. You can vote the monies and the funding to take care of the architectural design. You can take care of the money to get the construction, and you can get it completed. That's all I'm asking. Let's turn around this past racist attitude that was prevailing. We're talking about getting rid of the city, or changing the imagery of the city with the
market house and all of that, but we can do other things in a smaller form to straighten the city out. One is by putting a trail on the other side of Glenville Park. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Hewitt, I remember we talked about it a couple of times. Just for a side note, can you send an update on that? Because I know we talked about it several times. I wasn't aware that there was a funding gap. But all right, Madam Clerk.
Our next speaker is Mr. Sean McMillan.
Mr. McMillan, good evening.
Good evening, Sean McMillan, 6024 Golden Range Drive. First, I'd like to just start off by saying it's a little surreal to be here 2.5 years after the installation of the city council members that are here now. You'll find that many of my words are very similar to what I said 2.5 years ago. I wish you luck, Yvonne, Larry, and Chris. And I invite you to come into spaces where we honor the families who have lost family members to police violence. I invite you into spaces where we honor them and lift them up and make them feel important and let them know that the lives of their family members are more valued than any of our lives. To that end, I want to speak about the job that's not done. We still don't have policy change in here in this city that protects lives like it should. The community's been demanding local law enforcement field crisis response teams since the CCSO shooting of Timothy Smith Jr. I was back in 2018. So why wasn't a crisis response team on site when Jada Johnson was killed on the night of July 1st? Fayetteville Police Department, Mayor, City Council, when will this end? We're sending our condolences not only to the Walker family, but also to Jada Johnson's family and all those victims of police violence. Unfortunately, use of deadly violence and deadly force by police is not a one-off or an anomaly in this city. We have to stop this. According to policescorecard.org, the Fayetteville Police Department executes more deadly force per arrest than 81% of police forces in small cities nationwide. Our police kill more per capita than any other top 10 city in North Carolina. This is unacceptable. Our leaders, we haven't done enough to address this. In fact, we've spent more time planning parties in Festival Park. Fayetteville PACT and other groups first called for formation of a crisis response team almost 4 years ago. First calls came in 2018 after Timothy Smith Jr. We also repeated those calls after Joshua Oxen died in 2019. We still believe that armed officers are not the best equipped to de-escalate when mental health crisis is a factor. A CRT should have been on site the night that Jada Johnson was killed and at some point in the lead at that night. Again, call on you to make policy change that corrects this. We had a reckoning in the city when we found out that blacks were twice as likely to get pulled over and arrested by police or searched by police. Why not give that same urgency when we find that we're killing more people than our peer cities? Let's save lives. Please do your jobs.
Thank you, Mr. McMillan. Madam Clerk.
Our next speaker is Mr. Opara Fennison. Mr. Fennison. Our next speaker is Ms. Simon. Ms. Simon. Our next speaker signed up is Dr. Vanessa Gunter.
Good evening, Dr. Gunter.
Good evening. How are you doing today? My name is Vanessa Gunter, Dr. Vanessa Gunter. I am the lead coordinator for Operation Turkey and Connecting Families in Sea. When I was called to speak today, I wasn't sure if it was something that would pertain to me or if I could talk about mental health. And I prayed about it, and then I talked to my husband about it. Since 2015, We've helped over 40,000 mental health patients in the community that are homeless, that are out there with us. This is actually personal to me because dealing with mental health is real, and a lot of people don't understand that. My husband was reprimanded in the military for getting help. He was downgraded from his retirement because he was told that it was, how it would say, it was unbecoming of a sergeant major to go get help because he did not understand what was going on with him. This hit me hard when I saw him dealing with Ms. Roberts and what she's going through with dealing with our military families in the community. Nobody seems like they really know how to deal with the mental health aspect on getting help for a lot of the people in the community. And it's hard when you have a family member that wakes up in the middle of the night choking you because he still thinks he's deployed, or he's on the ground shooting and yelling at someone because he still thinks he's deployed. I have never called the police because I was always afraid to, because I was always afraid that he either will get killed or locked up. It is very important that the police department gets some type of training. They can do a special task force within the police department to deal with just mental health. It's not that hard. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Gunter. Madam Clerk.
Mr. Freddie De La Cruz.
Ms. De La Cruz, good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor. How you doing? I'm Freddie De La Cruz. I reside at 240 Summertime, Fayetteville, North Carolina, and I'm just here today to, first of all, publicly congratulate the mayor of Fayetteville for his reelection, and that's one of the main reasons why I came here today. I want to also congratulate the incumbents that are coming in to replace the ones that are leaving, just it's been going from being in the military, and getting into this political arena has been an experience that that I'll take home with me, and I'm going to run again, and I see that you guys are really busy. From this meeting tonight, I've seen a lot that you guys have to deal with, and it's really hard. It looks like a very tough job, honestly. And you spend a lot of time, I tell people on the campaign, I said, you need to give Mitch a break, man. He's working too hard, Like Freddie, that was my tactic.
I'm
But
glad
I
you
can
didn't
see that public safety and is a big issue in Fayetteville. And my experience as a military police officer, and as you know, I've been talking about it. I can help with this problem, and I'd like to show my commitment to the city and probably somehow help with that situation. I understand training is probably the #1 issue that we have in our police force. In the military, we have don't shoot scenarios, and from my perspective, you guys have some legitimate arguments about the cases that you brought up tonight, and I sympathize with your losses. But in my mind, those cases, it seemed like they were don't shoot situations in my mind, and so I just wanted to give my condolences to those who lost some family members here. Also, I just wanted to come by and just say congratulations, Mitch. And I'm gonna continue my campaign after the inauguration. I'm gonna continue to run as mayor, and I appreciate everybody that I got to meet during this campaign. Good people. I don't think anybody in this room wants to see any ill will to Fayetteville. I think everybody in here wants to see Fayetteville prosper and be just a place where people can enjoy life. And public safety, with the bond coming up, $60 million is a lot of money, to help with public safety. And I think that initiative is probably a good initiative, and hopefully it's spent wisely, focusing on training our police officers, on how to handle situations when they approach them, because that's a big problem we got in Fayetteville, as you know. Just again, thank you for the opportunity to serve, and Mr. Doug Hewitt, come see you and see how I can help, if there's anything that I can do for the city. I look forward to doing that.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Our final speaker is Mr. Demetrius Haddock.
Mr. Haddock, good evening.
Good evening. My name is Demetrius Haddock. I live at 2426 Painters Mill Drive, Fayetteville, North Carolina, 28304. Council, I chair the River Jordan Council of African American Heritage. Back in July of 2020, we sent a statement to the full council in relationship to the direction of the Market House due to the actual conflicts that were going on at the time. We're about 2 years now down the road from that, and I would like to thank the council for recently at your work session approving the recommendation that we had made to modify the plaque at the Market House, and thank you very much for that. I have a quick question. What does it mean to be denied one's day in court? To have one's life taken by those who believe due process is a needless waste of time. Fayetteville had a son who never had his day in court, Archibald Beebe. His descendants have been on a mission to learn all they can about their relative whose story was little known for so long. When accused of attempting to rape a local prominent white woman, Archie did not flee for his life. He faced the accusation head on, taken into custody. He should have been safe to have his day in court. However, the spirit of lawlessness took control and took Archie's life on February 11th, 1867, in broad daylight before a crowd of onlookers with a lyncher's bullet. This tragedy happened at the Market House in Fayetteville, North Carolina, and similar to George Floyd's public knee-on-the-neck murder, it pricked the conscience of this community in 1867. With the southern states divided into military districts, Major General D.E. Sickle of the 2nd Military District, Charleston, South Carolina, issued Special Order 55, which placed Cumberland County under military commission and ordered the Fayetteville mayor, town commissioners, municipal officers, magistrates, and town constables removed from office. Prominent black men testified against the white men who conspired and the one who ultimately fired the shot that killed Archie. These white men had their day in court, but Archie did not ever have his. The black men who testified helped to convict the man who pulled the trigger and 2 others for the lynching murder. These killers, Archie's killers, were sentenced to death by hanging, but were instead sent to a labor camp to serve their time. After the assassination of Abraham Lincoln, Andrew Johnson became the president and pardoned Archie's killers. These men then returned to Fayetteville to a celebration and a parade. The man who pulled the trigger and was richly rewarded with land, title, and prestige. Are these the types of actions we support today? Not just then. Are we the type of people to praise and reward lawlessness and abuse? Or are we the type to simply ignore it? Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Haddock. That was some great information. Thank you for the work on the plaque as well as the other things. And I think I spoke to you about having the River Jordan Council included in that joint historic resolution. You got a lot to share in that, so we'll be in touch. Thank you, sir. All right, Madam Clerk.
Mayor, we do have 2 more speakers. Our next speaker is Mr. Casey Harney.
Good evening, Casey. How you doing?
Good evening, Mr. Mayor. Good evening, City Council and staff and everyone. Thank you all for having me. My name is Casey Harney. I reside at 6935 Callahan Circle. I'm here tonight on behalf of Greater Fayetteville United. Greater Fayetteville United is a civic organization that has vested for a little over 30 years now. It's an organization that was started by former city council, former city manager, Roger Stansel, and some concerned citizens that got together. The objective and the mission of Greater Fayetteville United is to enhance the quality of life for all citizens. And one way we do that is through facilitating discussions. I'm here tonight to invite City Council and the general public to a public forum that we are going to have on next Monday evening at 6:30 at the Kiwanis Recreation Center. The forum will be on gun violence and school safety. We began a series of discussions about gun violence. I think it started in May, initiated by legislative candidate Charles Smith. And it was very well attended. Several of the city council had attended, and it was very well, it was a really good discussion. So again, we just want to invite everyone out. We know what's going on throughout the country with regards to gun violence, and in particular now these random mass shootings at schools. And we just want to have a conversation. We have invited Dr. Marvin Connolly, the superintendent of schools, Chief Gina Hawkins, as well as Sheriff Wright. And they will be presenting on the challenges that they face with keeping our schools safe and dealing with gun violence. And so we invite everyone. I just wanted to give a warning that we promote what we call social capital, and that is our ability as a community to trust each other and to work together. So this will not be a gripe session or a session where we'll be sniping at our city officials, but rather we want to facilitate discussions that lead to positive change. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, sir.
All right.
Madam Clerk.
Now, our final speaker is Ms. Walker.
Good evening, Ms. Walker.
My name is Janice Walker. I reside at 1606 Bingham Drive. I am the mother of Jason Walker. Today is exactly 8 months that Jason was killed. Everything that I wanted to say in my speech has already been said. The only thing that was said that has not been said is that I often used to see TV, watch TV, see the hearts of family members that had lost loved ones that were tragically and aggressively killed. I prayed for them, and my plea was for them that there will be justice. And all I have to say now is that something be done to do the right thing so that this can be made right and it won't be judged by the color of our skin or by our social status. Because now, as a grieving mother, I am a part of that statistic. And I thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Walker.
Thank you for letting us speak.
We have no further speakers, Mayor.
All right, thank you. Council, with that, we will give just a moment for maybe a 5-minute recess, 10-minute recess, and then we'll move into the public hearings. So,
Mr. Mayor.
Ma'am.
Very quickly, someone that wanted this to be known but could not sign, I wanted everybody to know that there is a PWC Career Day that will happen. The individual can wave their hand. They have information in the back if you want to learn more about the PWC Career Day.
Thank you, ma'am. All right, we'll take a 10-minute recess. All right, we call our meeting back to order. Item 10.0 is the public hearing. The public hearing we are about to hold where the city council formally seeks your input. Individuals desiring to speak at the hearing must have signed up to speak with the city clerk by name and address before the meeting begins. We begin with a staff presentation, then we'll move into the formal public hearing. 15 minutes will be allowed for those in favor or those opposed of the item of the hearing. Individual speakers are limited to 3 minutes each, unless by previous arrangement a single spokesperson is designated, in which case the spokesperson may use the entire 15 minutes. And with that, I'll stop, give our CFO, Mr. Tolan, the floor, and then we'll open up our public hearing.
All right. Thank you, Mayor, Council. Tonight, we're continuing the process of authorizing 3 different ballot questions to appear on the November ballot. And so with that, as you called the public hearing, after the public hearing, I'll be requesting the adoption of 3 bond orders, one specific to each question, $60 million for public safety, $25 million for streets and sidewalks, and then $12 million for housing. And then I will be asking for the adoption of an overall resolution to call for a referendum. So with that, please continue with the public hearing.
Thank you, Mr. Tolan. All right. Those who have signed up for the public hearing, when the clerk calls your name, asks you to please come to the podium. Please state your name and address for the record. You may then begin to address the council. When you begin, when you have 30 seconds, you'll be notified, and at the conclusion of your allotted time, the timer will stop. So with that, I will open up the public hearing, and Madam Clerk, please call your first speaker.
Yes, Mayor, we have 7 speakers signed up, all speaking in favour. Our first speaker is Mr. Charles Matthews.
Good evening, Mr. Matthews. How are you?
Good evening. I'm Charles Matthews, and I live at 3618 Tyndall Court, Fayetteville, North Carolina. I want to congratulate you for winning again. And thank the one that's leaving, did an outstanding job, and I appreciate you. We're here tonight for the safety of Fayetteville. The comprehensive report for the safety of Fayetteville is to stop the flooding. Replacing Rose Lake Dam will do that. We request the city replace Rose Lake Dam with automatic riser. Number 2, we request they cut and clear overgrowth in Rose Lake. Number 3, we request they dredge and clear Big Cross Creek. This would make it less likely to flood. We ask that you allocate $20 million off the $60 million you have for the safety of Fayetteville to this project. I'm very optimistic that you will do the right thing for the people of Fayetteville. Many locations have been damaged and are destroyed from the flooding of Big Cross Creek. A car hydroplaned and flew into my vehicle on Country Club Drive. My vehicle was totaled. I was very lucky to survive it. Do we really want to wait 4 to 5 years to stop the flooding in Fayetteville for the safety of Fayetteville? We've already been approved. I was told I was summoned to come down here for a meeting to tell me that they was going to fix Rosa Lake. So I did come down here, they said they're going to do Rosa Lake. But we're talking about 4 to 5 years. We need safety now. So I'm asking again that we allocate $20 million of the $60 million you have for safety of Fayetteville. I want to thank you. And if you have any questions, feel free to ask me. I left some brochure with you. My phone number's on that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Charles. All right, Madam Clerk.
Our next speaker is Mr. Calvin Bishop.
Good evening, sir. Good evening, Mayor, council members. My name's Calvin Bishop, and I live at 1061 Mohawk Avenue here in Fayetteville. A member of my family has been involved in the fire service in this city since before 1947. I retired as a battalion chief with almost 35 years of service here. This bond has been sorely needed for years. Literally, some of our fire stations are from 1976 or even earlier, as is the case in Station 2. As a member of the Fire Department Beneficiary Fund, we have donated equipment to the stations in an effort to try to prevent cancer amongst firefighters and help reduce those risks. Currently today, at Station 3 and at Station 6, which are slated on here, literally, at a two-station, two-company house, you sleep separated by one door, no further than this first row. When the truck cranks at night, all the diesel fumes go right into your room. This is nothing new. This has been known for years. We just have not had a mechanism to finance this. Therefore, we're absolutely in favor of the public safety side of the general obligation bond. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your service. Madam Clerk.
Our next speaker is Mr. Richard Bradshaw.
Good evening, sir.
Mayor, Council, thank you. Richard Bradshaw, 1716 Inglewood Drive, Fayetteville. I'm on behalf of the Cumberland County Fire Chiefs Association and Chief Freddie Johnson in support of the public safety bond. But also as Chief Bishop, I served this city for a little over 34 years in the fire department, retiring as Assistant Chief. And as Chief Bishop mentioned in the past, we've always looked for funding for our stations to do upgrades. Many were built in the 60s, some older than that. Some built since then are in desperate need of upgrade now. This bond package would be a great way to bring everything up to date. We have a huge cancer initiative going on now, which will provide, hopefully, the diesel exhausting systems that a lot of our stations desperately need. So on behalf of the Cumberland County Fire Chiefs Association and retired firefighters from Fayetteville and an old retired assistant chief, the bond is greatly supported and greatly needed. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your service.
Our next speaker is Mr. Steve Harper. Mr. Harper. Our next speaker is Miss Cindy McCormick.
Good evening.
Good evening. I am Cindy McCormick. I live at 4506 L Court. I'm here tonight as Executive Director of the Fayetteville Police Foundation. I think I have met all of you. I have done that for 7 years, but I'm also here as a city resident and as a taxpayer. I was born and raised in Fayetteville, so I only want and decided to stay here. So I only want what is best. I also serve on the Fayetteville Cumberland County Parks and Rec Advisory Commission. Y'all, it ran so late that my entourage has gone home. But I did have several board members. Callie Ziegler gets the award tonight for being the last survivor. But I did bring my entourage of board members with me, but, you know, they had to leave me. I'm speaking tonight, of course, on the public safety bond. We believe, as a foundation, well, first of all, 100% of my board responded to this call to action when I sent this out. And they all firmly believe that the top 3 needs of our police department at this point are a 911 call center, a new training center, and special vehicle storage. I'm sure each of you have toured the above facilities that we have presently. Every available space is being used. Closets, offices, forensics. If you've been in the FPD garage on Hay Street, our forensics unit has about not even this much room in there to perform their duties. They have a small fenced-in area and then a smaller area to do their job. That is also where all special vehicles, the huge Bearcat, all those things for our emergency response team are also housed in that garage. All areas at this point are full to capacity. There's outdated equipment. We should be able to conduct more. I'm getting old, y'all. Put my glasses on. We should be able to conduct more training classes than we're allowed at this time. We have one class going at the time with usually 20 to 25 BLET students. We should have a state-of-the-art training facility where we can run 2, 3, 4 classes at the same time. Since I've been doing this job for 7 years, I have seen the unbelievable commitment of our sworn and non-sworn employees. And this comes as a citizen, not as a member of the police foundation. But if we want to have a 21st century police force, then we need to fund a 21st century police force. We need the buildings, we need the space, and we need to act now. As I talk to recruits and new officers and visit other police departments, our officers desire to have the most up-to-date and advanced equipment available for their use. And granted, over the last couple years, some things have been added, but there is so much out there, especially as far as technology for police departments that we don't have. For just a moment, I want you to play along with me. Y'all know if I'm a retired principal, so we're going to play a little game. I just want you to close your eyes. I want all of you, please, just close your eyes where you are and envision the land area that the city already owns on Fields Road. Can you see the state-of-the-art 911 center, a training facility, and special vehicle storage? You can open them now. If you can, then I would expect you to make sure that this bond proposal goes forward on the November ballot. I promise you that the Fayetteville Police Foundation will ensure, hopefully, that bond will pass in November. We will be glad to mark it. We will be glad to work the polls. We'll be glad whatever's needed for us to have an up-to-date police department, and we thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Mayor, our next speaker is Mr. Scott Slind. Mr. Scott Slind. No. Our next speaker is Mr. Jonathan Charleston. No. Then we have no further speakers.
All right. All right, Councilmember Ingram.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Are you going to close the?
I'm sorry,
Okay.
yeah. With that, we'll close the public hearing. All right, Councilmember Ingram.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. If it pleases the council, I am prepared to make a motion guided by Mr. J. Tolan.
Absolutely. So staff is requesting council to adopt the order authorizing $60 million in public safety improvement bonds as first introduced on June 27, 2022. And then you can see the motion right below.
Yes, sir. All right, I'd like to make a motion for the first to adopt the order of authorizing $60 million public safety improvement bonds as first introduced on June 27, 2022.
All right, so that motion was made by Councilmember Ingram and seconded by Councilmember Davis. Discussion on the motion, I'd just like to clarify for those who are in the audience or maybe joining us by television, this is a necessary step to place this on the ballot to give the city the authorization to borrow up to $60 million for public safety, as heard described tonight with some of the various needs that we have. So this is not a council vote to authorize $60 million. This will be placed on the November ballot if council approves this action. So with that, any further discussion on the motion, council? All right, look to you for your vote to support the motion to adopt the resolution as stated. All right, Madam Clerk, that's unanimous.
All right.
Motion carried.
I'd like to make a motion to adopt the order authorizing $25 million for street sidewalks and connectivity improvement bonds as first introduced on June 27, 2022, and as amended.
All right, there's a motion by Councilmember Ingram to Adopt the resolution to authorize the borrowing up to $25 million for infrastructure, street, sidewalks, and connectivity improvement bonds as stated. Seconded by Councilmember Kinston. Discussion on the motion. All right, council, I look to you for your votes. Those in favor of the motion? All right, Madam Clerk, the motion is unanimous. Motion carries.
All right. And lastly, but very important, I'd like to make a motion to adopt the order authorizing 12 million housing bonds as first introduced on June 27, 2022.
All right, motion by Councilmember Ingram to adopt the resolution to place up to 12 million for housing bonds as mentioned, introduced in June 27, 2022, seconded by Councilmember Jones. Any discussion?
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor. I just want to make, for clarity, when we look at public safety and, of course, all the other items that we have, streets, sidewalks, and connectivity, and the housing bond, are we going to set priorities if this is passed by the citizens on what the particulars would be for each area?
Specific projects?
Yes, that is not.
You're not adopting that right now, but
Right, I understand we aren't. I'm asking the question.
That is the plan, yeah.
That's the plan? Okay. All right. Thank you, Mayor.
All right, any other questions on the motion? All right, council, those in favor of the motion to approve, show of hands. All right, Madam Clerk, it's unanimous, motion carries. So this will be now, Mr. Tolan, the process now, this will be moved to.
I have one more, please.
Okay.
Yep.
Staff is requesting council approval and adopt the resolution calling for a bond referendum.
Yes, sir. I would like to make a motion to approve and adopt the resolution calling for a bond referendum.
All right, it's a motion by Councilmember Ingram, seconded by Councilmember Wright. Any discussion on the motion? All right, council, those in favor, show of hands. All right, Madam Clerk, that's unanimous, motion carries. All right.
Thanks, I'm sorry for interrupting too. I want to make
Yeah,
sure
that's
we
all
got
right.
that fourth one.
I got you. All right, just procedurally, the next step, is this all that's needed before it goes before the voters?
Yeah, well, it'll go to the LGC for approval and, without any negative comments and all unanimous votes here should pass, no problem with them. And then, yes, it'll go on to the referendum. And then there will be action after that.
Okay, thank you.
That's on the technical side.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you, sir. All right, item 10.02, annexation, public hearing. Ms. Baptiste, is that some noise that we hear? Is that music playing? Can we check on that? Can y'all check on that? All right, Ms. Baptiste.
Good evening. This is case number AX22-08. The owner of the property is SRW Commercial Development. The request is to annex one parcel. In this case is related to item P22-24. The initial rezoning from Cumberland County's commercial with plan to the city of Fayetteville's community commercial CC. The property is addressed as 6765 Ramsey Street and is approximately 15.29 acres, and it will be located in Council District 1. This annexation is non-contiguous because it does not connect to the city of Fayetteville's current city limits. The request is to annex the property with the intent of developing a mini storage facility. The parcel is currently developed with a telecommunication tower on the property, which will remain. As you can see from the vicinity map, this property is located right along Ramsey Street. It's just south of the Broadwell annexation, and to the north of Long Hill Point subdivision right here, and this is Greystone Farms subdivision. Across the street from the parcel is the Goodyear plant. Here's a current picture of the subject property. As you can see, it's heavily wooded with the telecommunication tower on it. To the north are some undeveloped properties and some residential. To the east is residential. South is undeveloped property, and the Goodyear plant is here. And to the west is also some undeveloped property. This annexation is not contiguous with the current city line, so it would be a satellite annexation. The property is owned by the person who signed the petition. City departments can provide services, and PWC can provide services to this location. Staff and the zoning commission recommend that City Council adopt the annexation ordinance with an effective date of August 8, 2022. Your other options are to adopt the annexation petition with an effective date of December 27, 2022, or adopt with an annexation date effective of December 27, 2023. Not to adopt the annexation ordinance or table the requested annexation. That is staff's presentation. We do have speakers to speak in favor of this annexation. We ask that you hold any questions for staff until after the public hearing is closed.
Thank you, Ms. Baptiste. With that, we will open the public hearing. Madam Clerk.
We just have one speaker in favor, Mr. Palmer Williams.
Good evening, sir.
Mayor, Council, thank y'all for having me. Palmer Williams, 2709 Thorngrove Court, Fayetteville. This is a pretty straightforward annexation to tie onto utilities, PWC utilities for our development. It's a requirement from the fire department to be able to run a water line through the whole development to be able to access for any emergencies. If you have any questions, I'm here to answer anything.
Thank you, Mr. Williams. Any questions, Council? All right. Thank you, Mr. Williams. With that, we'll close the public hearing. Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would like to make a motion to adopt the annexation ordinance with an effective date of August 8th, 2022, and include the approval of the final action consent with the recommendation of the Zoning Commission.
All right. It's a motion by Mayor Pro Tem to approve as stated, seconded by Councilmember Dawkins. Discussion on the motion. Council, I'll look to you for your vote. Show of hands. All right, Madam Clerk, that's unanimous. Motion carries. Council, with that, we'll take a motion to adjourn.
One thing, Mayor.
Yes.
Unless it's already done, in the administrative reports about moving this, did we need to discuss that?
I thought we gave direction for that at the approval.
Okay. All right. And so move to adjourn.
All right. Y'all have a good evening.